It's time now for Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild. Stay up to date with your team all season long with Call of the Wild. With head coach and GM Bliss Littler, here's the voice of your Wenatchee Wild, Arch Ecker.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Call of the Wild, your weekly Wenatchee Wild coaches show. I'm Arch Ecker. Joining me is Wenatchee Wild head coach and general manager Bliss Littler. Coach, well, we're through the homestand portion. Now we're off to a 5-game road swing. Started off with 2 games up in BC this past weekend. You had Coquitlam on Saturday night and then Surrey on Sunday. You knew you were going to be coming into buildings with teams that were fired up and ready to take a whack at the team that's leading the division.
Well, it was a good weekend for us. Good challenge. The Coquitlam, they battled hard, and again, it was a good hockey game. And then Sunday over in Surrey, having to go to overtime, and really had to battle hard. That we had a call go against us just in the last few seconds of the game on Sunday in Surrey, and so we had to kill off a 4-on-3. Before we could make a play to win the hockey game in overtime. So again, I thought it was a good test, a good challenge, and we saw 2 good hockey teams on the weekend.
Let's take a look at that Saturday game with Coquitlam. Now, you were taking on a team that had already played a couple of games during the week. For the Wild, they had had the week off after the homestand. So on paper, someone might look at it and say, well, here comes this rested Wild team and against a tired Coquitlam team that had just been shut out by Surrey, so you knew they were extra hungry. And I thought Coquitlam played a fantastic game. They really pushed your team to the limit.
Absolutely. What I've learned in junior hockey is, the stuff on paper, it looks good on paper, but when you drop the puck, you're dealing with teenagers that it all goes out the window. You really got to give Coquitlam a lot of props. That 3-3 is tough. I mean, we do everything we can to avoid 3-3, but there are times you have to do it. And it was their 3rd game in 3 days. It was our first game, so technically we should have the better legs. And, they have a very smart coach in Barry Wolf that he slowed that thing down to a snail's pace. I mean, you saw every time there was a stoppage, they had 2-3 different groups would come out, and then a group would come back, and they slowed the pace down, which is something that we want to speed the pace up as much as we possibly can. And but they did a great job. They battled hard, and again, we're fortunate to get out of there with a win.
There's always the old saying that speed kills, and the speed of the Wild really helped contribute to their success on Saturday night. And you go back to the goals in the first one, Dakota Raby with the redirection, and again, it was a quick rush through the neutral zone that set it up.
No doubt, and that's usually written on our board every day, that we base everything that we do is off speed, and we feel that speed kills. That it was interesting that kid that made the play was Dakota, who traveled all night. He was on a college visit in Michigan, and him and Rockwell. They were both went to visit the same school, and they had to travel all night. They got in about 3 in the afternoon, so we're a little worried about where their legs were going to be at. And it was nice to see that Dakota got his feet moving and made a play right at the start of the game.
Matt Baker is a kid that you had talked about at the beginning of the year as a guy that was probably going to have a bit of a breakout year, and he's just kind of quietly gone about his business, but it seems like when big goals show up, he's always right around the mix.
He's been one of our best players, game in, game out, practice in, practice out, been one of our leaders. That I couldn't be more happy with what we're getting out of him right now.
So you had the 1-0 lead on that Raby goal, and then a scoreless second period, and you get into the third, and I would imagine as a coach you kind of start to get a little nervous when you get to the midway point of a 1-goal hockey game in the third period, and you're thinking, gee whiz, I think we've done everything right, but we're letting this team hang around. You got that next goal, and that was textbook pretty.
Yeah, it was. And that's exactly how we're feeling. Through 2 periods, the score is 1-0, but we had the majority of the grade A chances, and whether their goaltender made a big stop, we missed the net, the puck bounced a little. We weren't able to finish. And most of that, I'm going to give Coquitlam a lot of credit. That I think they defended their house very well, made it tough to get inside, and there just weren't many rebounds available. So they did a great job. But as soon as we got the second one there, it was through good work, but also very creative play and getting guys up the ice and to finish a play.
And then a little bit of insurance comes at the end off the blade of A.J. Vanderbeck. And, we talked last week about Charlie Combs and his goals kind of tend to follow a similar look. Mm-hmm. And for A.J., it looks like kind of the same thing. He kind of gets in that circle. He'll spin and throw the puck at the net and catch guys leaning the wrong way. He does it time and again successfully.
A.J.'s a goal scorer. I mean, that's the one thing that he does best is he shoots the puck, and he probably doesn't shoot it quite as hard as Charlie does, but he might be the most accurate guy we have. That he's definitely what I consider a sniper. That he doesn't need a lot of room, but when he does get pucks in areas where he's got a chance to score, he usually doesn't need too many chances.
I think during the recruiting process, when you're picking guys out, in your mind you envision how they're going to fit into your overall fabric of the composition of the team. When you were looking at A.J. Vanderbeck, did you pick him as a sniper, or was he a guy that you thought other aspects of his game might be stronger and the goals are just sort of an ancillary benefit?
No, I mean, 100%. We looked at him as he's going to score goals. I mean, as Scotty Owens and Sioux Falls said, Bliss, he's going to score 30 goals for you. He's a goal scorer, and
he might have 30 goals by Christmas at this rate.
Yeah, so no doubt about that. Is that he's a goal scorer, and we know that there are areas of his game that he really needs to work on, and he is doing that. He's working at his game to become a more rounded hockey player, where he competes in all three zones, plays in all situations. He's working hard at that. But the one thing we did know is that there's a lot of offense to his game.
Let's talk a little bit about Anthony Amnitsky. Obviously, the goaltending situation for the Wild, you had a lot of options over the course of the summer, and you looked at a lot of different guys. And Anthony is the player that you selected to bring into the family and help us move on. And he's certainly not disappointed.
No, I need to give all that credit to Chris Clark. That there are things that Chris likes about him. He just says we got to be patient with him. That he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, but as he gets more experience and gets more ice time, his confidence will grow. And Chris likes his overall ability quite a bit. And he's come in and he's done a very nice job.
You're watching Call of the Wild. It's your weekly Wenatchee Wild coaches show. I'm Arch Ecker along with Bliss Littler. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll also talk about the Sunday game in Surrey that was won in overtime by the Wild, and also a look ahead to this weekend's games up in British Columbia and the upcoming homestand and some of the promotions on the way for your Wild as well. We're back shortly here on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network. And welcome back to this week's edition of Call of the Wild. I'm Arch Ecker along with Wenatchee Wild head coach and GM Bliss Littler. We're talking about last weekend's trip up into British Columbia. We started with a Saturday night win, a 3-0 shutout victory in Coquitlam against the Express, followed by Sunday a match with the Surrey Eagles. We knew coming in to face Surrey that it was a team that, on paper, they play a lot better than they look on paper. They're a team that had lost their first 6, and they're in last place in the division, but they're maybe one of the more dangerous teams in our division.
For sure. With the addition of Rick Lance, again, the guy's, I believe he's won a Canadian National Championship, that one of the more recognizable names in the BCHL, that no doubt he's come in and he's helped make a lot of changes there. That they play a good style of hockey right now. They might be the fastest team that we've played against. I see them as a tough out every night with as quick as the style that they play right now. It's a very quick style, and they have enough guys that you make a mistake that they can make you pay the price for it.
Well, they're a team that, as you said, they're quick, they work very hard, they're very tenacious, and they've got some belief and some confidence, and you throw some confidence into a mix, and that makes any team very volatile.
Well, the big thing, Arch, is they're changing. They see the culture changing. That their last 3 years, that it had to be hard to put your jersey on, knowing that you weren't going to win too often. That they, for one reason or another, and again, I'm not that privy to the workings of their club. They've had 3 tough years. But you look in that building, that organization, albeit a different ownership group, but there's a national championship banner in the stands there that you
And it's
see.
not that far removed from it. It's just
No,
a few years
I think
ago.
it's like 5 years ago. So to go from that to falling on the tough times that they've had the last 3 years, what I see is just a culture change. That they bring in a guy like Rick Lance that brings instant credibility with whatever role he has with the team right now. Again, I don't think they've ever clearly defined what his role is, but I saw him on the bench, and I saw him doing a lot of coaching. So, but you see a culture change. All of a sudden, the kids feel good about themselves. They start believing in themselves, and that's a pretty good combination. So they're a team that people are going to have to be ready for, and I like how what their makeup is, and I definitely like the style of their play. That a year ago, as soon as you got up 2 goals, they came out and tried to hurt you, and they played a style that I thought was 1980s, 1990s. That is a very slow dump and chase and chip and whatever you want to call it. But right now they play a good style of hockey, and I think they have 7 or 8 kids committed to college. So again, the culture's definitely changing there.
They had talked about it, and we talked about in the pregame show a little bit about the fact that it is a bigger ice surface, and and you had mentioned we don't really make any major adjustments to that. Some of their players mentioned in postgame that they felt that we spread out so much that it opened up the middle of the ice quite a bit for them and allowed them to be more creative down the middle. Does that affect how you approach Thursday night's game when we go back up there?
I think their talk was more so on the power play, that what we did on the PK. We thought we only gave up 4 shots in the third, I believe. We didn't give up many in the first. Most of our chances we felt came in the second period. So I don't know that we'll change too much. That probably clean up some of the mistakes that we did make. And they capitalized the first 3 times we made a mistake. The puck went in the net, and I couldn't blame our goalie on any of those goals. So we just need to clean it up a little bit and get up and down the ice, finish our chances. But overall we're pretty happy with how we played.
5 games in 8 days up there in British Columbia, and as a hockey guy and his staff, I mean, for us, there's nothing better. For the players, maybe it can get a little fatiguing, but I know that you've invested a lot of time, effort, and resources into making sure that the players have the ability and the tools to be able to regenerate themselves and be ready to compete.
Well, I think we're extremely fortunate with having David White as an owner. That again, our kids, they have it pretty good as far as the trainer that we have on staff with Drew right now. That the cold tub, the contrast therapy that he does with the players in the pools to loosen their muscles up and to flush the lactic acid out at times. I think a lot of it's kind of state of the art. That we do a great job with that, but as far as an owner, allowing the kids to eat exceptionally well, that I don't know if anybody takes care of their players. Like we call it fuel. We talk that as soon as you're off the ice, that it goes to treatment. You got to treat your body right. That whether it's with stretching, with cold tubs, with contrast, rest, hydrate, and fuel. And you got to do all those things to give yourself a chance to have success, especially on the road when you're playing 5 games in 8 days. And I think we're very fortunate to have a trainer that we do that has a quality and I guess the knowledge that Drew has and his ability to get the players to buy into what he's doing.
Sometimes the schedule works out just the way you'd like it to. And for you to have the opportunity to turn around and face Surrey first in this 3-game road swing this coming weekend, it's probably the best possible situation, I think.
Yeah. You know what, I learned a long time ago, just, be careful about picking your poison. That when you have to play on the Olympic ice, I don't mind getting it done with playing a couple in a row, but playing Chilliwack the third and 3 nights. For us, I'm not overly pleased about that, but it's their third game in 4 days, and they've had to travel a little more than we'll have to travel. They're in the interior, and then they're up in Prince George. They do a Friday off, but again, we have to worry about Thursday on Thursday, and then when we're done with Thursday, we'll get right to it: treatment, rest, hydrate, fuel, and give ourselves the best opportunity to take care of Friday. And then when Friday's done, we'll worry about Saturday.
I would imagine that when you're talking about 3 games in 3 days on the road, especially on the back end of the 5 and 8 like we're doing, it becomes less about X's and O's down the stretch than it does about just simply making sure that guys, first of all, physically are ready, but mentally just refreshed, and they can approach each game with a clean slate.
For sure. I mean, that's for sure. That's why we talk a lot about playing to our standards, what our standard is, and we saw a few things that Surrey did that we had to make some adjustments, where they pinch on every situation. I don't think they saw a pinching situation that they didn't like, and so we will have to make an adjustment to that. We did all right with it, but I think we can do a better job being prepared for Thursday night. But for the most part, if we worry about our standard and then worry about just taking care of ourselves and our bodies, that if our bodies feel the best that they can feel, we feel that just making hockey plays, just being a hockey player, that we'll be all right on the ice.
A lot of hockey coming up in the coming weeks, and then, of course, we return home the following weekend. And one of the marquee events in the course of a season has always been Pink at the Rink. Mm-hmm. And October 29th, it's a Saturday night. The Penticton V's are here, so it's already what's shaping up to be, through the early part of the season, a marquee matchup in the league. So you've got that hockey aspect of it, but aside from that, all the things that go on away from the actual game that go into making Pink at the Rink a success, it's going to be a huge night.
Well, again, it's for a great cause. This jersey auction. Again, we do a great job raising money for a great cause. Again, we thought people have an opportunity to come paint on the ice, a little slogan for a loved one. That's going to be pretty cool. That's this coming Sunday. That'll be neat, where the ice it'll be all painted. Mm-hmm. It'll be pink, but then they'll have slogans all over the ice and different things about loved ones, which will be great.
Yeah, that's a really unique thing. I want to talk about that a little bit more, because that's coming up on Sunday, October 23rd, from 2 until 5 in the afternoon. We're opening the doors here at the Town Toyota Center, and fans are invited to come in and, as he said, actually paint on the ice. And I know people are trying to get their arms around that and trying to visualize it, but how does that work? I mean, how does it not get scraped up or shaved up over the course of a week before the game's actually played?
Well, I'm not sure if they cut the ice way down or they build it way up. It's one of the two, and then you paint on the ice, and then when you're done, they'll build the ice back up. So it's safe. You're not skating on paint. And then when you're done playing, they'll have to bring the Zamboni back out and do everything they can to cut it back down. And they'll cut the paint right off with the conditioner on the Zamboni, and that'll be a pretty good job for the rink personnel to get that ice back in shape and get it to where it needs to be. But it's we saw it. The Tri-City Storm had an unbelievable event this past weekend, and Katie, our marketing director, they've done it in Rapid City the last couple of years with the pro team there, and she was adamant that we need to do this. It was a cool thing, and for my friends in Nebraska, they said it was one of the best events they've ever done.
Well, what's neat about it is everybody has a personal experience with cancer somewhere in their life. Everyone's had their lives affected by it or touched by it in some way. And this just allows this event to become that much more personal, because everyone can write the name of someone or multiple people on the ice, and it's there while the game's being played. I mean, the concept is actually phenomenal. It's way better than back in the day they used to talk, well, we'll just paint the whole ice pink, and yeah, okay, well, that's kind of cool, I guess. But this approach it's incredible.
Well, like I say, I'm excited to see how it turns out, and like I say, hopefully we have a lot of people come out, and it's your chance to paint on the ice.
Well, there you go. So the Wild getting ready to head back out on the road this weekend. Another 3-game swing. We'll be up in British Columbia. We got Thursday night in Surrey, Friday night in Coquitlam, Saturday night in Chilliwack, and then back home to kick off another 4-game homestand. Thanks for tuning in this week to Call of the Wild. I'm Arch Ecker. This is head coach and GM Bliss Littler. We'll talk to you next time here on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.
You've been listening to Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild, a presentation of the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.